So, welcome everyone to this evening's Dharma talk. The title of this talk is Love Your Crooked Neighbour with All Your Crooked Heart, which is a line from a poem by W.H. Auden. There are two principles that mutually support the understanding of the teachings of the Buddha Dharma. These are the principles of relative and ultimate truth. Relative truth can be explored in our everyday lives of conventional reality, that which is familiar to us, the world of self and other, subject and object. Ultimate truth is a way of understanding this same world really quite differently. No separation between self and other, subject or object, knower or known, or from one group of people to another. Exploring ultimate truth more deeply, we can come to see that there is in fact no knower or known to be separated. And it is here that we can touch the deepest teachings of emptiness. On the relative level, we act and relate as individuals, one with another, or one group with another, with all our personalities, stories and histories. On the ultimate level, there is no separation, no individual, and no separate groups of peoples. Just an ever-changing flow of interconnection, limitless, over all time, past, present, and future. So when we hear these words, it is easy to have the view that ultimate truth is in some way superior to relative truth, and that it is ultimate truth that is really, really, really true. And this is not correct. To have that view is an incorrect understanding. A balanced view is required to not get caught in either perspective, either relative or ultimate. Sometimes, of course, we do get caught in the relative and our world becomes narrowly confined to our particular circumstances. We're all familiar with this. On the other hand, we can become so attached to the ultimate that all experience is simply dismissed as being empty. And we lose connection with what the ancient Taoists call the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows. The union of these two truths is the great mystery for us to explore, each being the expression of the other. So what I mean by that is how we think, speak and act in our regular conventional lives can sow the seeds and nurture an understanding of the ultimate truth. On the other hand, and seemingly conversely, an understanding of the ultimate will inform how we think, speak and act in the world. And it is right here in this beautiful mutuality of relative and ultimate that we practice the Dharma. Physics tells us that matter is energy processes interacting with each other in a very, 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 very large amount of space. And yet, we cannot walk through walls. In the same way, the emptiness teachings tell us that there is no substantial difference between me and not me, the division between I am and I am not being an illusion, and that the sense of self can dissolve into the vastness of ever-changing flux, and yet how we are in the world as individuals or groups of individuals matters. Though taking care of each other matters. So, the inseparability of ultimate and relative truth can be illustrated by taking an object, such as this bowl. So it has both a shape and a colour. It is both round and black. Both characteristics are distinguishable from each other, and yet they cannot be separated. A self-referential life conditions wholesome reactions that cause suffering. Loosening the grip of self-reference, however, through understanding, conditions a more peaceful response to life. As Venerable Anālio, the German-born monk and scholar ordained in the Thai tradition says, the apparent void of emptiness is filled with causes and conditions. Loving kindness, or Mettā, is a quality of mind that is expressed on the relative level. One individual to another, or one group to another. And yet, Mettā is praised by the Buddha as being a doorway to the freedom of ultimate understanding. This quality of loving kindness is the generosity and openness of heart that wishes for all beings to be happy. A friendly responsiveness to all people, both near and far, with goodwill and a kind heart. It does not seek self-benefit, and most importantly, it is not dependent on people being or behaving a certain way, or being part of our family, or our social group, or our culture, or anything we may identify with as being like us, or that we consider to be a part of us to the exclusion of anything or anyone else. The Mettā Sutta, the Buddha's discourse on loving kindness, opens with an instruction of what is required of us when we practice metta. The sutta says, we are to be able, upright, straightforward, gentle in speech, humble and not conceited. It is not enough to simply think that love is a good idea. We express it in the way we relate, with basic honesty and simplicity, without ulterior motives or deception, making ease and gentleness a practice in how we are with others, with a tender humility which has power, not meek and mild, but with a lack of self-centeredness. We will come to see what happens when we and others let down the walls of defensiveness and fear and let go of the tension of separation. We can cease blaming and highlight the good in others, not sentimental but real and powerful, abiding in goodwill and gratitude, renouncing the suffering of anger and resentment. The Mettā Sutta says, may all beings be happy, let none deceive another, let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. In all forms of aversion such as anger the heart contracts. We are imprisoned, and the sense of self strengthens, often with a strong sense of self-righteousness or victimhood. Wisdom is required for an individual or for a group of people not to be seduced by this anger with its poisoned root and honeyed tip. And yet, this loving kindness described in the Mettā Sutta is not passive. It is a fierce love, powerful, intelligent, purposeful. The Mettā Sutta says, as a mother protects with her life her only child, even so, with a boundless heart, should one cherish all living beings. As we engage in spiritual practice, meditation, retreat life, and the like, it becomes unmistakably true that the heart is freed and opens to love. As clinging is released and insight grows, and each of us experiences the natural movement of the heart towards loving kindness and towards compassion. And, seemingly on the other hand, I have seen that acts of loving kindness and compassionate action leads to freedom and understanding. Compassionate action from one to another is the realm of the relative. Ultimate truth goes beyond self and other. It is empty of self. So we have compassion and emptiness, relative and ultimate. Both are true. Relative is the expression of the ultimate, and ultimate informs the relative. As Joseph Goldstein puts it beautifully, Compassion is the activity of emptiness. Compassionate action is the natural responsiveness of awareness free of self, arising in response to suffering, when we allow ourselves to come close to suffering, both in others and ourselves. It has flavours of openness, caring, interconnectedness, with a motivation to act. As Thich Nhat Hanh says, compassion is a verb. It's a doing word. It is something that we do. It is not simply feeling the pain of others. It is love in action. Crucially, love and compassion are boundless and exclude none, without exception. Both the oppressed and the oppressor. This is not always an easy task, to hold both, the oppressed and the oppressor in our hearts. And yet this is what we have to do. These boundless qualities of love and compassion are the first two of the 4 Brahma Viharas, or divine abodes. Loving kindness and compassion being the first 2, and then there's joy and equanimity. And this beautiful mutuality is there with all 4 of these Brahma Viharas. What I mean by that is, as Venerable Analayo says, the Brahma Viharas are the natural flourishing that emerges through insight into emptiness. To the extent that we are able to let go of the burden of self-reference, to that extent we become better at whatever is required of us to lead a life of peace, for peace, abiding in these divine abodes. We have seen this kind of boundless love and compassion in the words of the Uluru statement from the heart, offered to all of us, excluding none, both the oppressed and the oppressor, both being held tenderly in the field of understanding that this extraordinarily beautiful document offers. Here we are invited to share sovereignty with Aboriginal ancient sovereignty, their spiritual sovereignty, so that their ancient spiritual sovereignty can shine through as fuller expressions of Australian nationhood. So their children can walk in 2 worlds, their culture being a gift to their country. In Makarrata, the coming together after struggle, we are invited to walk together in a movement of profound love and compassion. We saw this profound love and compassion in the conduct of the men and women leading the Yes campaign. Leaders of both humility and power, able, upright, straightforward, gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, not deceiving, not demanding, not wanting to take anything from anyone, not wishing harm upon another through anger or ill will. And yet with full power, as a mother would protect her only child. And we heard the gracious and dignified voice of the director of the Yes campaign, Dean Parkin, as he accepted defeat, speaking again only words of this profound love and compassion, clearly heartbroken, but steady with this emotion, strong, speaking the truth with wisdom, saying what needed to be said. The Dalai Lama says that our so-called enemies teach us patience. And now these gracious and dignified people are being patient again, with the powerful love and compassion we have been privileged and honoured to see in them. The Aboriginal people who voted yes are still grieving. And those of us who care feel a great enduring sadness. At our local sitting group in Bellingen, one of the regular people there asked the question, what is sadness and why do we feel it? We reflected upon this question for some time, trying to make sense of it. We concluded together that we feel sadness for others because we are connected, interconnected, not separate. The hurt of another hurts us all. This is ultimate truth informing relative truth. So from the Dhammapada, which is one of the old texts, hatred never ceases by hatred. It only ceases with love. This is a timeless truth. I'd like to finish with a poem written by my dear friend Anna, a member of our Sangha in Bellingen, who attends our local sitting groups. She wrote this in response to a conversation the two of us had during the Yes campaign towards the end. So I turned up to our local sitting group to find that only Anna was there. It was just the two of us, most unusual. And it was perfect because I really needed someone to talk to. And she's a really good listener. Because I was in despair at this time because I could see what was going to happen and what the outcome was going to be. And she lent me her ear most attentively and kindly. She's very smart. She knows how to help people. This is the value of spiritual friendship, or of friendship in general. So I'd like to say it was a conversation, but really it was her listening to me. I went to bed, and when I woke up in the morning, there was a text message from her, and she'd written me a poem about, she said it was stimulated by our conversation, Now, I didn't even know she wrote poetry. She'd never told me this before. And I read it. And to me, this poem illustrates beautifully these deep teachings of the Buddha Dharma, the deepest teachings. And the poem is testimony to her deep understanding of love and compassion, both as relative and ultimate truths. So I'd like to read it just to conclude the talk. It's called Yes. There is a love like starlight's grace that transcends the barriers of this place. It sees beyond what our eyes believe and exceeds the boundaries that we weave. A wondrous love with no bounds, a cosmic thing that is profound, not romantic nor kin to kin, but a formless beauty that resides within. This mighty love, our natural state, abides alongside our ingested hate. So very close, yet hard to find, entombed by constructs of the mind. Can hearts and minds reconverge to let bright love re-emerge? Can we let go of what we think and embrace this love, this forgotten link? Yes, Australia, yes we can. For ultimate love only knows one clan. So don't be tricked by external force. Just remember love, our pure source.